Hi, it's Fien from the One Size Happy podcast. As you hopefully already know, this is a place where we want to make everybody happy with their bodies. So today I'm doing an episode solely with myself, and it's a topic that I really like to discuss because this is something that helped me. I'm going to share some things that really helped me out during the last 4 years, I would say. So let's talk about coping mechanisms. And in particular, how to stop using food and abusing food as coping mechanism. Um, so let's look at that, how it works, and what other alternative, healthy alternatives are out there and have worked for me. So that's what I want to share today. I've prepared a lot of things. So if it looks like I have made a PowerPoint. I'm really, I'm really too structured for this kind of stuff. So yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So we're talking about coping mechanisms or coping strategies or coping skills. I don't know what you want to call them, but just wanted to clear out what I mean by that. I mean, these are like kind of skills or tools that you've developed throughout the years, probably to deal with trauma or with kind of stressful situations, and like most of the times, or all these kind of situations are situations that are out of your control. And like in those cases, um, we all look for something that how to deal with this kind of events, with this kind of stress, with this kind of trauma, and we're searching for things that we can control. Yeah. So that are coping mechanisms, like things we've tools, skills we've developed to deal with stuff that's out of our control and that are unpleasant, obviously. So for me, food was for a long time, it was my go-to coping mechanism, and I've used it like in two different ways. Like there was just a time when I stopped eating because like my food, and definitely also my body and how it looked like, it was like the only thing that I could do to gain back control. Yeah? So like it was the only thing in my control. And if I stopped, the first way I used food as a coping mechanism was to stop eating, because like I could minimize myself. Nobody would see me, nobody would pick on me, nobody would have an opinion about me, because I would not exist, or I would be like, I would disappear kind of in the scene. And then afterwards it evolved into like binge eating, which I think it was also a coping mechanism, but it was kind of slightly different. It was like a different strategy for me, because then I've used like binge eating to literally stuff myself and to literally fill um, holes in my body, but like emotional holes. Like, so I had the not eating, I had the overeating, and like in both situations, it was like an addiction. Like we've discussed it like in other episodes as well. It was like an addiction where focusing on food was like all I was doing, was the only thing I was doing. It made me forget about all the other stuff that was happening, that was out of my control, that I didn't want to face. Like, and it was like numbing. It's like numbing yourself, like escaping from the real world, and it's like an addiction. Yeah. So like using food as a coping mechanism for stressful situations out of your control is like obviously not a healthy thing to do. Definitely when it's used in these extremes that I mentioned before. And so I I started to look at what is the function of food. Like, I just wanted to clear that out as well. Like, for me, like, food has two functions. um First of all, you need it because, yeah, you need it to nurture your body or mind. It's what you need to live, to survive. Like, that's the real functionality of it. It's really functional, functional eating, like just eating to stay healthy and survive, and like, and live. um and that was the first thing I realized. Like, I need food, like that, when I've used food as a coping mechanism to disappear, like, and to deal with stuff and not eating. Then there was a time, and I told you this before, there was a time I realized, like, food has its function. I need this to survive, because otherwise I'm going to die, and I'd rather live a bit, live and be a bit bigger than I was before, than die skinny. Like, that was the option at that point. So that was the first realization. Like, food is it has its function. It I need this to survive and to live. And then there's also another um, function about food, I think. It's like more a social function, like when you share food and when you enjoy food with other people. Like, and that was while I was binging, that was such a lonely time as well, because I was doing that only by myself. Nobody could watch it because it was weird. Like, it was my moment in time. Um, and then I also realized, like, food should also, sometimes you can eat alone. That's okay. If you're an introvert like me, you enjoy eating alone. But it's nicer if you can share eating. Not in particularly share my food, because my food is my food now. And Joey doesn't share food, and Fien doesn't either. But when you can share the eating moment with somebody else, it's nicer. Yeah. And it should be enjoyed. And while I was binging, I was not enjoying my food. It was gone before I knew it, and then afterwards I thought, oh my god, that I didn't enjoy that at all. Maybe like for 5 minutes, but it was not really enjoying, really tasting every bite that I took. And that was a second realization. So, like, not eating, I realized, okay, it has a function. I need this to survive, to live, because otherwise I'm going to die, and I didn't want to die. Then it turned out, then I had to search for like a coping mechanism, and it was not eating was not an option. So I started binging to, yeah, to have that sense of control. And then I realized, okay, I'm not really enjoying this. It was not good for my health either, but it was also very lonely. And then I thought, okay, this food has also like a social function, like, should be shared, it should be enjoyed. So, like, when I really was aware of it, that I was using food as a coping mechanism, I started to think, like, how can I turn this around, and what what can I do differently to, yeah, to cope with certain stressful situations, but in a more healthy way. So, I've experimented with a lot of things, but for me there are like two parts of it, or like two types of coping mechanisms that I use. Sometimes it's just one of the two. Sometimes, or most of the times, it's like both, like together or combined. um like, I have this very rational, structured, very rational part in me, and I've developed some kind of rational, healthy coping mechanisms, like more solution oriented. It's like a solution oriented coping mechanism, like, where I encounter like a situation, it's out of my control, something happened, it's a problem, like, okay, and when I get in this rational coping, solution oriented strategy, I start to assess, like, the situation, like, what is it we're dealing with, I give myself like a minute to think about what could be possible solutions. Like, and really, this is actually what I really tell to myself, and I'm not kidding you. I'm actually saying to myself, like, okay, look, it happened. There's nothing you can do about it to change the past because it happened. It's not fun, but it happened. It is what it is. And then I say to myself, so what are the things that I can control and that I can do myself to fix this or to, yeah, to change this? And I'm like a planner. I'm all about structure and things. So I start really thinking about what steps can I take and who can help me with this, or is this something I can do myself? Like, that's a really rational, solution oriented coping mechanism I've developed throughout the years, when I have to deal with situation that that just happened and that is unpleasant. So that's the rational part, but then I also have this kind of like emotional, um, coping mechanism. It's like the emotional coping mechanisms are like, different, are like multiple things I do, in that case. Those are like, for me, the emotional coping mechanisms are like things I do to, take my mind off the situation for a bit, to clear my head. It's like going for a walk or read a bit or work out, that kind of stuff. It is kind of, I know, it is kind of escaping from the situation as well, but obviously it's more healthy for me than using food to escape the situation. And in most of the situations, I first use the emotional coping mechanism, like take my mind off it, getting calm, clear my head, and afterwards, when I'm like, um, calm down and I can look at the situation more, uh, rationally or more objectively, then I use like the rational, healthy, coping mechanism to assess what has really happened and if there is something I can do to fix the situations. I know, like, in some situations there's nothing to fix. There's no fixing to do because sometimes just things just happen. Like if your cat dies or if a family member dies or something or gets sick, and in that situation, in those kind of situations, there is not really something you can do to fix it. I mean, obviously you can buy another cat, but that's not going to fix the issue that you miss your favorite cat that has died. So there's not really something to fix in that situation. And then in those times, like the emotional coping mechanisms, like feeling the emotions that you have, but then do stuff to deal with that kind of emotions, like drawing or listening to music or reading or working out. Those are like the emotional coping mechanisms that can help you in those kind of situations that are other things than food. Like, so these are like the two things I wanted to share. Like, I have this rational part, that I use these days, and I have like my emotional coping mechanisms as well for situations where I cannot fix things, or I use them both together. So like this combination has really, served me really well in the past, and nowadays as well. But I'm not like a doctor. I'm not like a coach. I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing what has worked for me. So like the moment I realized that I was using like binge eating, to fight like boredom or loneliness, then I've experimented with different things. And, one of the things I did was, like, every time I thought like, oh my god, I want to binge so much food right now, I've started writing. And then, yeah, what happened out of, the writing was, it evolved in a blog, which I've done for a year. And then afterwards I had like the feeling like, this chapter is closed. But it helped me out for a year, where I could write down all my thoughts and my feelings, to take away the focus of the food. And there was another thing I started doing. It was like I had this deal with my husband, which was my very, which was my boyfriend. It was like at the very beginning of our dating relationship part. And I had this deal with him that I could text him or call him every time I wanted, when I felt like the urge to binge food. So that was the deal. I've tried a lot of different things. Not all of them have worked. And it was not like a straight line where I decided like every time I want to binge, I'm going to write, and this is gonna help me out, and I will never binge again. It doesn't work like that, and it didn't work like that. So just wanted to say that as well. So I've tried different things. So I would say, like, if you have the feeling that you're abusing food to escape from things or to numb yourself, that if you are aware of this, then that's actually the biggest part. It's actually the first thing, but also the biggest part of the journey, that you are aware of that. That's good. Took me quite a lot of years to be aware of that. And then if you are aware of that, then you can start testing out different other healthy coping strategies that I've shared today. I would say just try it. Try some different stuff. And yeah, I can promise you, I can promise you, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to go smooth. You'll probably relapse a couple of times, but that's okay. You're working on it, and you and me both know that if you are aware of this thing, if you are aware of the fact that you are abusing food as a coping mechanism to deal with other stuff, then if you're aware of it and you're not changing anything about the situation, if you're not changing anything about it, then nothing's going to change, and nothing's going to happen, and nothing's going to go differently. It's all going to be the same. And the longer you wait, the harder it's going to get to get out of it and to change that. So yeah, I'm starting to preach right now, so I'm sorry for that. I'm going to stop that right now. But I just wanted to share this thought that I had. I hope this helps. I hope this inspires you. And if you have questions or you want to talk, then you can always reach out to me on Facebook or on Instagram on One Size Happy page. And yeah, if you want to share your favorite healthy coping strategy that has worked for you, then please do so and share it with others so that we can all learn from each other. So that was it for today. Thanks for listening, or thanks for watching if you're on YouTube. Hope this helps, and I'll talk to you really soon. Bye.